Good morning. I'm
Good
delighted.
morning.
I'm delighted to have you here, Sarah Blas of Staten Island. I'll let you tell folks who you are, although I'd love to myself. But Sarah, could you just tell us about a few of the hats that you wear as a community member in Staten Island, please?
Sure, absolutely. So again, my name is Sarah Blas. I have the absolute privilege, and I use the word privilege very intentionally, of wearing so many hats in the community. First and foremost, I'm a mom of six beautiful babies, three boys and three girls. Um, During the day, I work for a public health nonprofit organization called the Staten Island Partnership for Community Wellness, and I'm the Community and Equity Impact Lead. Also, I am the founder and executive director of Staten Island Therapeutic Gardens. And I also um, work with Staten Island Women Who March as a diversity of equity and inclusion. So those are just a few things that you'll see me around doing, and a few of the hats that you'll see me wearing across Staten Island.
Thanks, Sarah. We're going to be interested in talking about a lot of that stuff and probably more. And Partnership for Parks is just so excited to be working with you. Your interests, personally and professionally, really intersect with a lot of our mission and our hopes. So let's jump off. This past Saturday, there was a beautiful community wellness fair in Mahoney Playground. Why did you and some of your community partners want to host a community wellness fair in Mahoney Playground?
That's a great question. First and foremost, Mahoney Playground is very important to me personally. It's in my neighborhood. I love being able to do anything that I can and kind of impact my direct community and my neighbors. So anything that involves with, I am totally down with doing. Um, but I was wearing my SIPCW hat. And through our Child Wellness Initiative and through Project Launch, we really want to be able to get out resources, health and wellness resources with regard to kind of lowering the obesity rates, giving information around asthma, COVID-19, and other emerging chronic health conditions. And we partnered with Project Launch. They actually have community health workers that go out to families and really connect them to resources, and that's coming out of Rumsey. And so bringing together all of our community partners to really have all of the resources in one space, in one big open space where parents and caregivers can be engaged, but also where children can be occupied so parents can really ask some of the really hard questions, is really, really important. And of course, whenever you have a green space in the community, like Mahoney Park, and people see programming in that park, they're more apt to use that park. And that's really what we want to do. We want to promote activity, health and wellness, and we really want to promote programming.
Fantastic. And I know this is not your first effort to do this kind of programming and activation in open spaces. You're part of a working group. I think the working group's called something along the lines of like the Child Wellness Initiative and the Built Environment. Could you tell me about some of the strategies and projects that this group partners has been working on?
Absolutely. So you're right. It is the initiative from SIPCW called the Child Wellness Initiative, and we meet monthly. That's also an open invitation for whoever's watching. Feel free to join us. It is comprised of community-based organizations such as yourself, key stakeholders, and sometimes parents and caregivers that want to jump in and get involved. And our goal, again, is to take a look at the built environment and how that impacts health outcomes through in a public health lens, right? So for instance, if we're looking at a specific neighborhood and we see that people aren't riding bikes and they're not jogging and they're not exercising and those BMIs look really high, what does the built environment have to do with that? Are the streets bike friendly? What is the walkability in that neighborhood? Are there parks? Are people utilizing those parks? Why aren't they utilizing those parks? And so it's really putting all of the pieces together about how communities are built in a very specific way and really working together with other community-based organizations to put all of our pieces together and make a healthy community where everyone can thrive and kind of reduce what those negative health outcomes look like.
That's great. So it's analysis, research, but also some programming initiatives too, right? Is there
Absolutely.
Is there a particular activity or even just a partnership that you're most excited about or you're proud of that's come out of that working group so far?
Well, I would have to say the partnership with Partnership for Parks. I'm so excited because we see all of the amazing work that's coming out of the Friends of Tompkinsville Park and how you all have been working together. So to be able to replicate that very amazing model over at Mahoney Park and potentially additional parks is very, very exciting.
You're too kind. There's quite a few amazing local community partners that you've been working with for some time. And Friends of Tompkinsville are also very inspired by some of the work you're doing locally too. Let's get even a little bit more personal about this.
Sure.
You and your family are residents of Richmond Terrace, the NYCHA campus directly next to Mahoney Park. And Catalyst has intentionally started to work with parks that border on the campuses of NYCHA. And we really want to give residents an opportunity to have a leadership role in their open spaces. But you're doing this kind of work already. What's important to you and other fellow residents about open spaces for NYCHA residents?
Well, I think the concept of open spaces with regard to an actual NYCHA facility is not something that's popular. It's not even something that's really happening on a large scale. And it's really a shame because this particular development actually has 11.6 acres of property. There is so much potential for activities and programming on green spaces. And again, we want to see that because it's connected to health disparities. It's connected to social and emotional positive outcomes with that category, right? But so many people want to do these things, and there's so much red tape to kind of cut through as an individual. If you don't have a coalition behind you, if you don't have, elected officials behind you and partners like Partnership for Parks to really be able to do that programming, it's exhausting. Mm. And so I think that residents are really looking for spaces where their voice actually matters and they can really influence what happens in their community and how that impacts their livelihoods and how that impacts their quality of life. So projects on parks property adjacent to NYCHA facilities are very, very important. And we saw that at the Health and Wellness Fair as so many community members were like, what kind of programming can we see next? Can we do this here? Can we do that here? Who do I talk to be a part of this? Can I bring friends? So there's really, really this drive for people to be able to make their communities what they want to see.
Beautiful. Thank you. You mentioned something briefly there that I just want to underscore for a second. You talked about how these efforts, sometimes going against bureaucracy, sometimes sort of leading by yourself, can be exhausting. And part of work you're working towards and Catalyst is working towards is wellness, and for the community, but for individuals. Do you have tools or things you do to take care of yourself? Like, are there self-care practices that help you keep going? Because you're doing a lot. And I know it gets tiring.
That is such a great question. I think first and foremost, if you choose something that you're passionate about, you never have to work a day in your life. I'm sure you've heard that before. And I am very passionate about community engagement. It is how I grew up with my grandparents running nonprofit organizations and food pantries and things like that. My parents also are heavily involved in the civil rights movements and things like that. So it comes very, very naturally to me to be a part of work like this, to be a part of strategies that are equity focused and promote health and wellness. But I will say it can get exhausting. And I always have one day where I don't work at all. So Sundays are my days where I don't answer emails, where, even if it's an emergency, that is the day for me to kind of do a lot of meditation. I do weekly yoga. And sometimes I sit down and binge watch episodes of Star Trek just because that helps me reset for Monday. So it really is a very personal thing. And I think that when you think about yourself and your best baseline, what does that look like? And what are some of the activities and people that help you get back to that best baseline? And that's different for everyone, but I think starting to ask yourself what that looks like can help you tailor make that individual, process for self-care.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, and as excited as I was coming out of Saturday into Sunday, I did my very best not to bombard you with texts and pictures on Sunday so we could rest a little bit, so we each could have family time with our family. But I was eager to talk to you about all the beautiful things that happened. You touched on this a little bit, and thank you for that answer. It's really important for everyone. You touched on this a little bit about the opportunity to work with Partnership for Parks and the value of the open space like Mahoney Playground. But you're wearing lots of hats, and you're stepping into yet another hat right now about helping to form what we hope will become the Friends of Mahoney Park or Mahoney Playground. Could you tell me why that's important to you, just like to create this another group to be part of, to create another group in your community? Like, what's that opportunity that you see?
Absolutely. So whenever I think about strategies or programs or even a shared mission, I think about sustainability, right? If Ted and Sarah Blas were not working in this neighborhood, how would programming continue? How would these green spaces continue without us? And I think that building a Friends of Mahoney Park is going to help with that sustainability piece, which is key because that's how you know you're doing a good job, when you step away and the work continues.
Beautiful. Is there anything else you'd care to share with us today?
I am just so excited. You're a pleasure to work with. I love Partnerships for Parks, and I can't wait to do more.
Well, we cannot wait to continue working with you. And no matter, it doesn't matter what hat you're wearing, you just call us. We're going to be there to help. Okay. Because all
That
those
sounds
hats you're wearing
great.
are beautiful. And yeah, so thank you for doing this. And we can close this beautiful interview. Keep up the beautiful work you're doing. Okay.
Thank you so much.